Case. Joining us now on Middays, Senator Jeremy England. Senator, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Gerard. I hate to be here remotely. Wish I could be there in the studio with you.
You guys are kind of busy down there. What time did you gavel in, or have you gaveled in?
Oh, yeah, we gavelled in at 10. As a matter of fact, we're on the floor right now, so if I get up and run out, it's a roll call vote situation.
Gotcha. All right, so I'm hearing a rumor that you may try to wrap this thing up in Sine Die today. Is that true?
Look, I've heard the same rumor. I hope it's a true rumor. Only time will tell. We've got a lot still to go through, but I know that we're all ready to get home, get back to our families and our real jobs. So if we can do it, we're going to be up here burning the midnight oil, I guess. But if that's what it takes, we'll get it done.
Well, at this point in the session, you're sort of down to money. It's budget and appropriations bills.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, and that's been, look, Senator Briggs Hobson and Senator Josh Harkins on our side, and I know Trey Lamar and Jason White on the other side. They've been buried in paperwork and ledgers and budgets for probably the last 2 weeks to get us to this point. But that's basically what we have left. Have a few more general bills left, but mostly dealing with appropriations at this point.
One that I think is of particular interest, Senator, is this ballot initiative measure. It's a resolution, actually. What's the status of that?
So that's still being negotiated.
Right.
I don't know that we'll see it. I'm sorry, Gerard.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. So, yeah, I don't. I know that it's still being negotiated, and look, we're late in the game on it. But I just talked with my desk mate, Senator Mike Thompson. He's working very closely with Senator John Polk on our side, and I think they're still just trying to figure out what the numbers need to be. I think we have an agreement that we don't need initiative measures going straight into our Constitution. That was something we all kind of looked at, and instead have that go into the statutes and into our code. And that we also need to have it go in there in a way that we can't come back and change it the very next year. There needs to be a time period in between, because otherwise we're wasting money and we're wasting the people's process, the initiative process. But I think the negotiations are on right now as to how long a statute will be in the code before the legislature can make any changes, and also how many numbers of petition signatures.
Yeah.
are necessary to get to that. So those are still being negotiated, but we don't have anything final right now. And if we don't get it done today or maybe tomorrow, if we're here that long, it looks like it'll be next year before we have that initiative process to roll out.
Yeah, and of course, this is something that does require getting on the ballot and the people to approve to amend the Constitution in accordance with our law. So we would have to wait for a statewide election to do that, which would be November 23 if we don't get something for the 22 ballot. We've got the congressional election, the House seats coming up this year. So as I recall, the latest on that was the House wanted to keep the petition number of signatures equivalent to the present law, which is 12% of the number of ballots cast in the last gubernatorial election. The Senate wanted 12% of the voters, which is a pretty big jump in numbers. Where do you stand on that, Senator?
Yeah, I would say I stand probably somewhere in between. And by that, what I mean is I'm very concerned with what we were seeing kind of unrolling in the state over the last 2 years with the initiative process, wherein we can see we can have a bunch of outside of the state influence come in, put a bunch of money on the table, do advertisements, help get these petitions signed, and move things that we in the legislature probably will not take up because we shouldn't take them up, things like Medicaid expansion and things like that. We were going to see those go directly into our Constitution, and that worries me. That completely bypasses our constitutional republic system of government where we have representatives here. So that worried me, but I don't want it to be so far out there that your grassroots efforts to actually get things done, like we were able to do back when with the eminent domain amendment to our Constitution, which we're codifying this year, by the way. But that's something that moved completely grassroots, that the people of Mississippi said, look, we don't want the government to be able to take private property and give it to some other private individual, and
Yeah.
they moved, got the signatures and moved that. So there's goods and bads to it, but where that number is going to lay, I'm sure it'll be somewhere in between what we're seeing now, but I hope it's not too
Okay.
high or too low. Good political
Well,
answer for you, I guess.
I'll just speak what I think represents the consensus of the state. And I know there are folks on the text line that'll tell me if this doesn't represent the broad sentiment, which is that we need something. And if we don't get something done this year, that means we got to wait another year. And I think that would be problematic for most of Mississippians. So I'm hoping we get something done.
There's going to be disappointment on that for sure if we don't get it done this year, and I understand that. Now, one good thing we do have is we do have back-to-back statewide elections. So if we miss the 2022 November elections, we're right back in 23. But we've got to do this in a year when we have that statewide elections. As you mentioned before, we're changing the Constitution, which takes that ratification by the voters.
Yeah. All right. So we got teacher pay raise done. We got medical marijuana done. That seems to have gone through the paces and finally got signed into law. We finally got some degree of tax reform. I would maybe call those the sort of the three high-profile accomplishments of the session. You may differ on that. Your thoughts?
No, I think that's right. Look, we came up here wondering if we were going to be called back before the session this year on the medical marijuana bill. We were able to get that rolled out really quickly, which I was very happy to see, because what you have when you have these big pieces of legislation, I call them beaver dams. Everything kind of gets bogged up behind big legislation like that. But we moved that. We were able to move the historic teacher pay raise that we have. And then on top of that, right afterwards, we got the historic tax cut coming back, putting more money in Mississippians' pockets. Those three things did take a lot of the air out of the room, so to speak, this year, which is the reason why we're here right now, dealing and negotiating with a lot of these other issues that just kind of we're waiting for those to move on before discussions got serious.
Yeah. I believe you've offered a bill that would allow recalling elected officials at some levels in the state of Mississippi before. You still plan on pushing that? Obviously didn't happen this year.
Yeah, it didn't happen this year. And again, that's a big undertaking. And with all these other big undertakings, I think that one got bumped to another year. But I filed it. This is my third year here. I filed it 3 times now. And I do plan to continue to do that. A lot of states have that. And I think having that cloud or threat over our heads here in Jackson will keep us keep our ear to the ground and keep us listening to our voting public. Not just here. That goes all the way from the governor all the way down to your cities and counties. And I'll tell you this year, Gerard, I had a lot more feedback from the county and city level, where folks will elect someone and have trouble right off the bat, and then it gets very contentious and they can't get things done. So they're the ones that are really going to benefit from that immediately. But shoot, it keeps us here in Jackson accountable as well.
Yeah, across the country, it's been elected school board officials. I think over 200 have been recalled. I saw one report 5 in one district, 5 in a Pennsylvania district have been recalled. It was over mask mandates, which has been kind of the impetus for a lot of citizen involvement in school boards, which they should. Citizens should get involved in that.
Oh, especially at that level. Look, I'm a parent to 2 children that go to public schools. And yeah, look, if you've got school board members that aren't doing what the parent are, in these cases, not even letting the parents have their say in making the policy that affects the school board, yeah, those folks, they're not representing their folks. They need to be sent home.
Right. You know, the other, I think, notable piece of legislation was the so-called anti-CRT bill. I feel like that's kind of misnamed. I think the language was simple but effective. You just can't say one person is superior or inferior to another based on these immutable physical characteristics. That makes sense to me. I don't know why people object to that, honestly. About a minute.
Yeah, look, I agree with that. And I think that the bill that we passed prevents the implementation of critical race theory. See, it's a theory there. And that's what I've told people. I don't think we ban the teaching of it, and I don't know that we should prevent people from learning what CRT is. I went and did my research this past summer to find out what it is. And when you learn how dangerous it is, you know how important it is for us to have this legislation to keep that anti-American garbage out of our schools.
Yeah, agree. Senator, appreciate you coming on Middays today, and we'll stay in touch with you guys to see where you land. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Gerard. Hey, our favorite time of year, baseball season, right?
You got it, buddy. See you, man. Take care. Hope y'all have a good season.
Thank you.
We'll come back with more talk here on Middays. Stay with it.